Hello everyone, welcome to the Under the Cover podcast. This is the first episode. Today we are joined by a special guest, Jacob Torman.
What's up, guys?
So, how's your summer been?
Full of baseball. All baseball, literally all baseball. My brother's got his all-star team. They play pretty much all the time. My AAU team, Bombers right here, we play on the weekends, but we have doubleheaders pretty much every Sunday. Actually, we just wrapped up our last league games last weekend. We have a couple non-league games, not this weekend, but I think the weekend after this, and then hopefully we'll make playoffs. But it's we're like on the line for the cutoff, so at this point, it's just let's hope.
So a lot of baseball then, huh?
Yeah, a lot.
So how long you been playing baseball for?
This is my ninth year playing.
Is it like your favorite sport?
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite sport. I play in the spring, summer, and fall. So I've just been playing all the time.
So I know you play basketball too. Last season you won, right?
Yeah,
we won
the championship.
Won the championship.
Yep, against the first seed team, which they really only had this one guy who was really good, but he wasn't that good. So it was really, if he was out of the picture, it was easy for us to win. So all we did was just play hard defense on him and limit his points and ball control and possession rather. And we ended up winning by, I believe, 12 points.
So I know you like racing.
Yeah. Mostly car racing, like stock cars, NASCAR. I don't watch Formula 1, but I have a couple Formula 1 video games for Xbox and yeah, just Xbox. So I play those sometimes. I like the career modes; those are fun. I like motocross and like supercross. That's pretty fun. I mean, it's dirt bikes, so it's pretty cool. And then horse racing, like, I'll watch the Kentucky Derby if it's on, but like that's it. I've like never watched horse racing in my life, so.
So do you race?
I want to, but I don't. The cars are actually pretty expensive at this age. It's like $8,000 for this little, basically a go-kart. So we don't have enough money, not really enough time with other sports, and the closest track is in Seekonk, so that's like a good half hour away.
Yeah.
So we just wouldn't have enough time.
So do you go and watch the races in person, or do you watch them on TV?
Both. I do watch local races in Seekonk. I've been to, actually this year as well, I'm going to NASCAR in New Hampshire, the track at New Hampshire. There's one in Connecticut that's pretty fun. We go to in October, which isn't really good for racing season because usually it's about 20 degrees.
Oh. And
you're sitting there, you're not moving, so if the wind blows, it's just Arctic, and then the sun goes down and it's just horrible. So, but I mean, the racing's good, so we just go there for the racing.
So the racing, what's it like watching the racing? Is it like you sit on one part of the track?
You sit on, well, it depends on where I go. Like in Seekonk, I sit in the middle of turn 3 and 4. That's like the best spot, especially because like it's in the summer, so it's really hot. So the sun is behind you, and it's not like in your eyes. So the sun goes down pretty quick, at least for the people sitting there. For the one in Connecticut, we sit right pretty much next to the finish line. Same with New Hampshire. So you stay in one spot, and usually it's pretty easy to see all the cars. Like, that's the thing about road courses, is that they're enormous. So if you're sitting in one spot, you only see one like part. It's like 6 seconds, and then you don't see them for a whole minute or whatever.
Oh, and you gotta wait for them to come around again?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, usually they have big screens for the broadcast, but it's not as good as like short track just because you can see the whole thing.
So you like watching short tracks more?
Yeah, I definitely would prefer smaller tracks just because you can see the whole track, you can see all the racing happen, and there's no like bad spot.
There's no oh yeah, because it's like is it like a circle most of
the time? It's oval. Well, it depends.
Or is it round?
It's round. It's mainly ovals, but there are like tracks that are small enough that they are circles, or pretty much circles. Like, they don't qualify as circles, and they're different lengths, different sizes. Length is just from the finish line, one trip around, from the finish line back. That's the length. That's how the length is measured. So NASCAR tracks, they're generally above. I think the smallest track is half a mile.
Half a mile?
So it's generally pretty big. They're usually over a mile.
Do you like root for a specific car?
Well, okay, so at Seekonk, they have, the night we go on Saturday nights, if there's time because of baseball. But there are 4 divisions, and there's about 20-30 cars per division. So if there's a guy that's, I have like my favorites and stuff, but they have like a bunch of heat races. So me and my brother and my dad will like ask each other like who we think is gonna win the race, and we'll pick a guy. But I have a couple favorites. There's this we sit in front of this family that drives one of the cars, and they're super nice, so we'll root for his car. It just depends on like who has been good during the season, and just who you want to win. Sometimes I just pick it because the car looks cool or something. It just depends.
So how fast are these cars going? Are they like
okay, so NASCAR, depending on how big the track is, because obviously you don't want to hit the wall. Generally the tracks that are over a mile, cars reach an average of 160 to 180 miles an hour.
So they're going pretty fast then.
They're going fast, and there's, on the driver's side, it's the window net, so all that wind's coming in and blowing right on you, which is good in some tracks, because when they race in Phoenix in the spring, it's like in the middle of the desert, so it's 130 degrees in the car, so sometimes that wind is nice. They have connected to their helmets cooling tubes to blow cool air in and keep the drivers cool so they don't overheat. But generally, they usually they reach upwards of 180 miles an hour. And then at tracks, super speedways like Daytona and Talladega, they go over 200 miles an hour. But these short track, they rarely go over 100, except for the faster cars, but usually it's like 80.
So I heard you talk about NASCAR and Formula One. What's like the difference between those two? Like, are they first of all?
Okay, so NASCAR, they're stock cars, so they are meant to look like, they have manufacturers, Toyota, Ford, and Chevrolet, and they're meant to look like cars you'd see on the road, except with just all these decals. NASCAR, they don't have lights, they just have stickers on there that look like lights. That way you know which car is which. But the engine, the manufacturer is mainly created to make the engine and the chassis. So when they say which manufacturer, it's what engine it's running on. They're all made generally the same, but they're built kind of differently. And then the cars look differently. So stock cars look like basically souped up, like bigger, heavier, normal cars. And Formula One, it's open wheeled, so you can see all 4 tires. They're all right there. It's one seat, and then it's a super narrow car, and it's all about aerodynamics. So those cars fly. They go over 200 miles an hour all the time, and it's crazy because there's this big stretch of just straight track, and then it's one corner that's like a paperclip. It's just a super hard turn. And it's amazing how these cars brake. The brakes are incredible for these cars. I don't know how they make them stop that fast. It's crazy. If you've seen I don't know, man, it blows my mind. But so these cars are very different. The Formula One cars are one cockpit, and then I have been told that there aren't any gas or brake pedals. They have the gas, brake, and clutch, and stick. These are manual cars, so they're not automatic transmission. They're manual. So the NASCAR, the stock cars have the pedals and the clutch and the stick. the Formula One cars, I've been told the steering wheel is huge. It's pretty big. It's like probably that big around. It's pretty big, and they have buttons. So one button, I'm sure is for gas. They have, I think, the paddles on the back of the wheel for shifting up and down, and then they have buttons for whatever, gas, brake. There's this thing called DRS, which there's this wing on the back of the car, and on straightaways, it's basically mainly used for giving advantages for cars to overtake. So this flap will open up, and it's more air coming through, so it's less wind resistance. So it'll make the car go a little faster, and it's just used to help cars overtake each other and make the race more interesting. So these cars are very different.
So they're like built for racing.
Well, yes, the ones, obviously, I mean, if you've seen I don't know if you've seen a Formula One car, but they are definitely race cars. They're in no way, shape, or form ever probably going to be street legal. Stock cars, they look more like normal cars. It's just that they have all these decals and paint jobs and what's the word? I don't know. It's just other stuff. So it's all, funky colors, and there's no headlights on them. So it's mainly because of they're very, very loud. The mufflers aren't as they're not as sound blocking as mufflers we have on our normal cars. So they're louder, they're faster, they're bigger. They're not as safe as a normal car. Well, I don't know. They kind of are, but...
Oh, they have their own, safety measures?
Yeah, they're built to go fast, so they have this roll cage, which is this big, stainless, it's steel, it's basically metal bars just surrounding the driver, and it keeps the driver in the car, because obviously you want to be secure, tight, when you're going 200 miles an hour. So the harnesses are ridiculous. They're huge. They're big. They're like 3 or 4 seatbelts, taped together almost. It's super tight, and it can hurt people. They have this thing in Connecticut at one of the tracks. They have this little track for kids to race at. They have these little quarter midgets, and they put the harness on so tight it hurt my shoulders when I got out of the car. But it's to keep you in there so you don't fly, because it's a dangerous sport, obviously. But there's a much less chance of injury in this sport than hockey or football, because you're not open and you got this whole car surrounding you. So
I see. So you have much more protection?
Yeah, definitely more protection than a football player does. There's a lot better chance of a football player getting hurt, but there's less chance of you dying in football. You could get a concussion or something, but one bad crash and you could die easier, I guess, in NASCAR.
So crashes would happen less than in football?
Yeah.
In football, you would get injured probably a lot, but it wouldn't be as bad as it.
As NASCAR, you're moving around in there, but like I said, that harness is so tight, you're just kind of sitting there like this, your head might move or something, but that's mostly it, and it's just kind of more of if you can absorb the shock, then from the car hitting other cars, hitting the wall at great speeds, then you will be fine if you can absorb that momentum and just kind of, I guess, just take it. I guess that's pretty much it.
All right, so let's go back to baseball. You said that was your favorite sport?
Yep.
So, what do you like about baseball?
Well, it's a better sport because I think that my dad likes this about it. There's no time limit, so there's no certain time you have to get certain amount of points. Excuse me. No time you have to get a certain amount of points to beat the other team or something, and it's a slower sport kind of, but it usually takes about 2 hours. It's the same, it takes the same amount of time as a clocked sport like football or hockey or soccer or whatever it is. But if there is a tie, there's going to be a winner. There's no ties. So it just goes. And if they take too long, they'll reschedule it for another day or play the next day depending on the schedule. And they play 162 games, and they're playing all the time. They have in between 2, 3, and 4 game series with one team.
Oh, this is MLB?
Yeah. Yeah, so you're not just playing one team, move on to the next, one team, move on to the next. It's not like that. You play one team for 2 to 4 days. So some series might be back-to-back. You might have a whole week of just playing baseball every day.
A whole week, every day?
Yeah. And it's better. It's not as rest-dependent because you take your turns. You sit down every half inning, and you get up to bat. You might run the bases, but that's it. And then you go back and rest and get ready for the next. And depending on where you're playing, you're just standing there kind of waiting for somebody to hit the ball. But that's, it's not as rest dependent as, besides pitchers, as other sports. So you don't need a whole week like football.
You were talking about how games can get long.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever had a really long game?
Well, for us, we have time limits because we're younger.
Oh. Oh, and then everyone's teaching their parents and schedules.
Exactly. Well, we have time limits, and also the umpires aren't trying to be there because they're only getting paid. I mean, they're getting paid a lot depending on, like, AAU, they get paid like $160 per game from each team, I think. So it's a good paying job, but like they might have another game, and there's only so many umpires in the town or in this division. Like in the MLB, they have tons of umpires, so they always have time.
Oh, you umpire, right?
Yes, I do. I actually had a game last night that was painfully slow because it was it was 8-year-olds, so they couldn't throw a strike to save their lives. So it's just like ball. Okay, go walk to first.
So you got paid for it, right?
Yeah, I do get paid for it. Last night I get $30 for that game because I was behind the plate. So it's a fairly good paying job. I'm not playing baseball besides AAU this summer because we couldn't get a Barnstormers team. So it gives me something to do in the summer besides just sitting around.
Make a little bit of money too.
Right, and I make some money. So
so like, what's the process to become an umpire?
Well, they have this. So for junior umpires, you sign up. You say, I want to do it. They have this class. It's like 2 little sessions. And it's not hard. It's pretty easy. You just need to know where to stand in certain situations, what to call in certain situations, and how to call certain age groups. And if these kids aren't throwing strikes, like good strikes, open up the strike zone, make it bigger so these kids can hit. Because we want to make these kids have fun. We don't want them to just stand out there in 85 degrees watching people walk around the bases. So it's not that hard. It took me, they give you 2 classes. One, they talk and tell you what to do. The second one, they show you what to do. We did a field practice, and that was pretty much it. So it's pretty easy. But for my age group, you have to do classes. You have to get a patch, and it's a lot harder because there's more stuff in my division.
So how big are these teams that you're playing with?
My team is now 11 players because one of our players quit. He complained he wasn't getting enough playing time. But teams are at a bare minimum. You can play with 8. You can have 2 outfielders. But if you have less than 8 people, you can't play the game. But usually teams have about 10 or 11.
Are they bigger in the major leagues?
Yeah, way bigger. They have 2nd string guys, 3rd string guys. So each roster has, I think, about 40 people.
40 people?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and you can only bat and play 9 in a game, except for pitchers. You can switch out players, but that's it.
So a lot of them don't even play?
Correct. But they're good enough to be on the team. So if you are starting to be good, like certain rookies, like for us, Michael Chavis has been crushing the ball. I think he's 2nd. He has the 2nd most home runs on our team, and he's one of the best rookies in the league when it comes to hitting.
I've never played baseball before. Yeah, I haven't. I played a video game, so I guess I kind of know how it works.
Yeah, People complain it's boring, and at times it is. It's a sport, personally, I would much rather play. I like playing sports. I rather play sports than watch them.
Yeah, I don't really watch sports either. I like playing them too.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll watch them because my dad loves watching the Red Sox and the Celtics, and we watched the Bruins when they were in the finals, but baseball is, you gotta have a lot of patience for it. It's kind of boring to watch, but I'll watch it because at this point I know everything that happens, so I like watching it. I know what's going on. It takes a little while to know what's going on. Like, there are some weird plays that people don't know, so it's just, you gotta just know what's happening. Yeah. And once you know I mean, that's really any sport. If you know what's happening, it's a lot easier to watch. So.
Well, I was thinking that you could, we can go to a field and you could show me how to swing a bat, you know?
Yeah, I brought a bat and a ball. The bat is not the greatest. It's my dad's coworker gave him it. It's like a cheap bat. He got like a Paw Sox game, so it's a wood one, but it's just used to, at this point, it's sitting in our basement collecting dust. So, most bats in the MLB, you have to use a wood bat. You cannot use a metal bat because you could seriously hurt someone. Because metal bats they can hit a lot farther than wood bats.
All right, so I think we're good here, and let's go to the field.
Yeah. So just look at me for a second. All right, so you stand here, feet like this far apart, and you just hold your hands here. Nope, wait a minute. Yeah, so you hold it, you put it back, right, put it back, bend your knees, and then when you swing, you take this little step, and that's all your power, because when you load back, all your weight goes to this leg, so when you step, all that weight comes forward, and as you're stepping, you're swinging. So it's like this, so you go, and you swing, and all that power comes from this back leg, and it goes forward, and that's how you hit.
So like this?
Yeah. Basically, okay. So when you swing though, make sure if you step this way, your swing's gonna get off balance. You're gonna pull it that way, and your back foot's gonna come out because your weight's this way. So when you step, you wanna just step. It's like not even 3 inches. You just step straight towards the pitcher, and you swing, and all this weight comes forward. Yeah. You gotta swing a little differently, but mainly, I want to hit a home run so bad.
All right.
I don't have my catcher's now. I would have brought that. That's a lot easier to hit.
Alright, thank you guys for watching, and thank you to Jacob for coming out here and showing me some tips, you know?
My pleasure, man. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, it is pretty fun.
Yeah. It's a lot better playing the sport. I mean, if you guys learned how to play it, if you played it, it's a lot easier to watch it, but it's not as boring as people say. I know people say it's wicked boring, but that's only watching it. If you play it, it's fun. It's a sport. It's always fun to play. So, my pleasure for coming out and helping you. Do it with my little brother all the time, so it's kind of easy for me at this level. I know enough to teach you the basics, so all mine. Pleasure's all mine.
All right, thank you guys for watching. See you next time.
Culver Productions.